computer, and we are live. Welcome to the second town hall of LD Talent. Thank you so much for joining us. We have developers in this audience as well as engineers. And so normally we take the time to introduce ourselves, but I want to try something a little bit differently this time. I want to have us go through some topics that are really relevant to us. And when you say a comment, just introduce yourself by mentioning your name. Okay, so that sounds good. All right, let's go. So let me share my screen and see what we can do here. So can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. So we're going to be talking about feedback that we've gotten from developers and clients. And it's been super useful to talk to developers and clients about their feedback since we're a matchmaking business. And so last time when we talked about how to get US clients to be open to international developers. And what we had learned from talking to US clients as well as international developers from all over the world is that there are many US clients who are interested in working with developers from all over the world. So we should focus on those clients. In terms of other topics, we talked about niche skills at the last webinar, and specifically, we had looked at skills like Kubernetes and wondered why there are a lot of clients with demand for those types of skills, but not enough developers who can fill that demand. And we talked about strategies such as having our GitHub and blog projects and lifelong learning projects incentivize developers to learn skills that are in high demand. We talked about the resume form and how it has some aspects to it that are difficult to fill, and how to incorporate improvements to UI to make it easier for developers to update individual experiences. And finally, we talked about other monetization strategies beyond the client and in developer matchmaking business, such as having developers build their own projects and ways to incentivize them to do that, and how to help developers monetize their own applications. So that was the last town hall. This town hall, the first topic that we're going to be talking about is one of the biggest complaints from clients when they see resumes of developers is that there's not enough experience. How can LD best present developers' strengths? And one thing that we notice is that when we receive the PDF resume in, it has a lot of interesting experience. And we know the developers in our network have good experience, but the resume form tends to be work to fill. And so we can't reflect all that experience. But at the same time, the resume form prevents the problem of us having developers having a record of developers with accurate depictions of their skills. So the resume form makes sure that developers, when they claim a skill, they actually have it. So, but how do we make sure that developers are putting in all their experience so it shows 3 to 5 years rather than just 1 year, and so that clients are more interested in inviting them to interviews? I'd love to hear your inputs. Welcome, Larry. Someone should come first, Daniel. Do you want to speak, Daniel? Go ahead. So Abhi says, show just years to clients. So yeah, that's a great piece of feedback. We are showing the number of years of experience that developers have to clients. But one of the biggest problems is that developers are not motivated to enter in all their experience. And then when clients see a resume with just 2 or 3 experiences and only 1 to 2 years of experience, they get turned off and say, oh, we're looking for someone with more experience. So how can LD help developers present more of their experience or incentivize them to do so? So Abhi mentioned that we could allow engineers to show total years plus 1 or 2 experiences to highlight. Okay, that's a good point. Thank you, Abhi. That's a great point. So could we, Daniel mentions exactly. So what do we mean by that exactly? Could you expand on that, Abhi? Right now, the resume form lets people enter in their experience, and then we calculate how many years of experience developers have in each skill based on what they filled. So when you say allow engineers to show total years plus 1 or 2 experiences to highlight, are you saying that they don't have to enter in all the experiences for each of the years? They can just self-report So you're saying allow them. So right now, what we do, Abby, is we auto calculate the number of years of experience based on what experiences they enter in their resume. So for each skill, if each I don't. So for each, maybe if you look at the resume form, for each experience that a developer has, they enter in which skills that they used for that experience, and then we look at the period of time that that experience took, and we auto calculate how long how long they've known that skill or used that skill. So I guess in reaction to that, did you have specific feedback? So Rita writes that some experience may not exactly be professionally paid, but rather passion projects to ramp up, which developers may not include in their resumes. That's a great point. So Rita, we do have in the resume form an option for passion projects versus paid experiences. Did you and by the way, you don't. Nobody has to write just in the chat. You can all just unmute and speak as well. And if you have camera, show your camera. We want to make this a community type of deal where people are speaking and showing themselves and talking face to face.
Yeah, mic check.
Yeah, go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, hi. Um, to my point, it's just that when we are filling out our resumes,
Mm-hmm.
most people don't put passion projects. Then you see the forms we fill for LD,
Mm-hmm.
you fill them according to your PDF resume. And
Mm-hmm.
then I guess from my personal experience, the back and forth, at times you like just exclude it and just focus on the what you would consider as professionally paid experience. I think that's why at times in the context of our resumes on LD, that's why maybe some people have not updated to have all the other experiences they have, like because of the new form. That's just my personal opinion.
So Rita, am I saying your name correctly? Is it Rita
Yeah,
or?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Rita, how can we encourage developers to enter in the passion projects? Should it what should we do on the resume form or in our communication to developers?
I think I think I don't know. It's more of both ways
Mm-hmm.
where you because after you join you can always update your form.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, from my personal experience, the whole updating the PDF, then I go to the form, then you have to again update the PDF. So it kind of the whole back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
I think just makes people just decide to not add them
Mm-hmm.
because they have to update the PDF, then send again, then they have to update the form. I'm speaking from my perspective of filling in the resume and all that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that one thing that we should make clear is that once you start filling the resume form, you're not required. You don't have to update the PDF anymore. The PDF is just an initial thing, but we didn't make that clear, so that's a great point. And
Okay.
and then the other thing about updating the resume is also a good point there. Do we have any other comments on how? So Abhi mentioned that another idea is allow engineers to take 15-minute quizzes on each skill or import from LinkedIn. Import from LinkedIn is an interesting idea because people all will have to spend less time doing work of filling out the form. Any other comments on how to get developers to put in more experience on their resume form so that clients are more interested in them?
Daniel here. Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, personally, I don't know what number of years people currently have on average in LD talent, but I would think that this kind of mistrust may come from even if you have probably 5 years of experience
Mm-hmm.
and you are not specifying what skills you are experienced in the most, the client might think that, yeah, 5 years, probably done probably 12 skills, and they're not really experienced in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could put each skill, if a
Mm-hmm.
skill goes over 2 years, possibly this person knows something. And If they have 5 years of experience in so many skills, and then particularly they have 4 years of experience maybe in Angular, the
Mm-hmm.
client may know that this is the person I need. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for an Angular developer, I'm looking for someone that has maybe 3 to 4 or 5 or 17 years, whatever. That's what I would be thinking myself. Then adding passion projects would allow for the clients to prove that this person actually knows something they're talking about. If they have maybe 5 years of experience, this project portrays 5 years of experience or 2 years of experience. So this is the person I would be going for. Thank you. That's my submission.
Thank you, Daniel. So right now, on average, developers on the network are reporting when 2 to 3 years of experience. The way I think one of the things that's important for developers to look at is their public profile, which is pinned in their LDE channel. And when you look at your public profile in your LDE channel, you can see uh, you can see how many years of experience that clients are seeing that you have. So in that way, you had mentioned here how many years of experience developers have. They have around 2 to 3. How many years of experience do clients want to see? They want to see 3 to 5+ years of experience. So a lot of developers who I think would be a great fit for a client are not getting matched to that client because the client is doing the experience filter of 3 to 5 years. So Daniel, I'll ask this to you. What would personally motivate you if you say have done 10 projects but only put 3 of them in your resume? What would motivate you to put the other 7 in so that when we auto calculate your years of experience in every skill or in overall, it shows up as 3 to 5 years as opposed to 1 to 2? What would motivate you, Daniel?
Well, most of the times I would think that some developers may not be confident with some of these projects. So I would recommend that if there is a program like the skill development program with LD, there is also a program to develop these other projects, redevelop and revamp the projects to become better so clients can trust these projects.
Okay, sounds good. And do we have any other recommendations for how to help LD best present developers' strengths, their experience, get LD to present more of the developers' experience and get developers to put in more of their experience into the resume?
Hi, Mike Shek. So
Larry? Yeah.
my point will be, I think what can motivate most of us to add more of this project, I think it's to clearly state that this project is going to affect the number of years of experience that's going to reflect on your profile, because I don't think this public knowledge, for someone like me, I've just known that today from what you've just said. But I think if you can come up with a statement on the group and then just tell people that having these more projects will increase the number of experience and in turn will increase your chances of getting a client match. I think that might as well improve, will motivate people to add these projects to their resume. That's all from me.
That's an excellent point. I think that we should start by just telling people. That's a great point, Larry. Thank you. So let's move on to the next item. So if you look at our website right now, ldtalent.org or learningdollars.com, they both point to the same thing. We have gotten a lot of comments from clients when they go to our website, which I can go to right here, that this looks like an independent or indie project. It doesn't look like a professional website. And when clients come on our website and they look on the landing page, which I encourage all of you to do right now, is if you could go on your computer and go to our website and just scroll down through the website and see, why does it look that way? Does it look professional or does it look like an independent project? And if so, then tell me what we can do to make it look more professional so that clients are more interested in hiring all of you.
Daniel here.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yes, personally, I think that's a bit true. I thought the same every time I went to that website. If there could be a change of UI to reflect that there is actually a team behind this thinking about usability, rather leave alone usability, but how you present everything in the screen. Things are so spaced. You don't think that there's a company that would space things this much.
Mm,
These you see the icons you're looking at right now, they're really huge. You could
mm,
use this space for so much more information to the clients regarding developers or anything to do about the company. And
mm,
then the other thing would be affiliates. What affiliates do you have currently? Which ones are you showing? And if they're good, are they noticeable by the clients themselves? Because also these influence clients' decisions to either take a developer from
mm,
this site or not. Then you have resolution regarding the profile pictures that are there for the developers.
mm,
Some pictures are really, really blurred. For example, you can see Siva there.
mm,
A client wouldn't think this is someone that has, the capabilities to do something based on what they see. Clients are really just normal human beings. They're not graphical individuals, but they can
mm.
tell from these small cues. Yeah, that's what I would think myself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. I'll leave this up for a few more seconds for people to comment on the professionalism of our landing page, which is actually might be a reason why we might be losing some client matches. So if we can improve this page, then we could perhaps get you better matches. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. So the next topic is, if you look at this page right here, this is what clients see when they're ready to invite you to an interview. But right now, we are getting feedback. Right now, we are getting feedback that this page is not good. We have gotten feedback that the UI of this page is not good. And we have gotten feedback that it is difficult to go on this page and invite a developer to an interview. And we have Google Analytics data that says that clients are coming and looking at you developers and looking at the stats, but getting overwhelmed by the UI and leaving. And I've actually had clients say explicitly, if the UI of the page was better, then I would have invited developers. So please tell me, what do you think we can do to better present you as developers?
Daniel Olili here speaking. I
Mm,
wouldn't really directly comment, but I would recommend if you guys could look at Townhall. Townhall, the way they present their developers is really something I think we could take a lead from.
That's a great point. We are looking actively at what they do. They are strong in that. I guess our differentiation is that we're investing in developers learning, but in terms of the client-facing aspect of it, that company Townhall is very strong in the way they present developers.
My check.
Yes, Daniel, go ahead.
I would think that we can maybe improve the colors on this page, because right now everything looks, I think, bland. We have no call to action, so the client does not know where to click, or he doesn't know where to look for information. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if we change the color scheme around, so we can maybe highlight some specific parts of this page, I think it would be easier for clients to get where they're going.
Excellent point, Daniel. And actually, Abi in the comment after Daniel said American clients have a thing for UI, and Abi had mentioned analytics would help, which we are doing. Abi had mentioned a similar thing to you. He wrote, use colored text and buttons on this page for better UI. Worth hiring a designer from the LD network to advise on this. And we think we will dog food, and we will hire some design focused developers to improve the UI of this page. Specifically, the call to action of invite to interview is something that needs work because we are having drop off there. So are there any other comments on this particular web page?
Mic check.
Go ahead, Rita.
Something Larry said about the display images of the developers. It seems a bit distorted, and you can see someone has like 3/4 of the body, then another person has a half, and the other person has a background. It's a bit okay for the user experience. It's better to have like something more uniform, and it looks more clean and organized and reflects the image of LD and its developers. That's just my 2 cents.
Great point. Yes. The images need to be better aspect ratio and cover a similar part of the body, a headshot. Now, clients wouldn't know. So Abi mentions here, clients wouldn't know that you can click on invite to interview, show last activity as a number of hours ago or number of days ago. And also Daniel wrote, devs should get, I should ask devs to get high definition pictures or passport type pictures to improve the professionalism of the look. We will try to do as many of the things as are possible, the ones that are biggest bang for buck, that'll have the most impact first. So we think that making the invite to interview more of a call to action will have a lot of impact. Specifically with the table over here, do you think the table is overwhelming? Do you think one of the feedback pieces that we got is that the table here doesn't present well the developers because it's just a lot of information and I don't know which information is important. Abi says, yes, use expandable entries. Do we have any other feedback on what we can do to improve this look of the table of data so that clients are more inclined to invite developers to interviews?
Just an input on that. I think we could also add the specific skills that the developer has, because here I'm only seeing you're mentioning if a person is a full stack engineer, but you're not going into the programming languages he uses, or maybe the stack. Maybe you can add that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. So right now when a client is on this page, they're using the find engineers to search. And so they're searching with specific skills like Django and React. And that's what shows up under the match skills. But I get what you're saying, that a general sort of what stack is this developer? And Rita +1 that as well. So, and Daniel writes, show the skill, years of experience, rating, and view, expand developer button. Okay, so turning these links into buttons. And any other feedback on how this experience of a client, let me show you the experience, because this is important. The reason why it's important is because you could get hired much faster if we make this better. So when a client comes in, they're selecting skills like this, like React Native, and maybe they select Python here. And then they're pressing find engineers here. And clients are actually doing this, and then they're dropping off. And so anything about this experience now that you see it, and we want them to click here and register and invite in, but they're not.
Mic check.
Yeah, go ahead.
So more on the UI, I think in this particular table, somebody's tech stack may be more important than their title. For example, engineer and full stack developer. So I think their tech stack should come first, and
Great.
maybe their title should be under the image. And maybe we should make these images a bit bigger, because right now they're really small.
Great point. Great point.
Another input would be where it's quite not clear whether someone should click on the invite for interview. I think we can just make it to be a different color, maybe blue or something, or underlined, so that clients can know that they need to click there, because right now it's just like a text.
Great point. Okay, I'm going once, going twice. Okay, Abhi says wait, he has more comments. Oh, Abhi, your voice is not coming through? Oh, I think we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Abhi.
Okay. Yes. One thing you can do is allow the client to schedule our time slot and then automatically select maybe 3 or 4 developers who are able to join during that time slot for a 15 or so minute interview with the client. That would bypass this process in the first place and allow the clients to get exposed to the talent. And with a calendar integration or something, you can determine which engineers would both have the skills and be available for a quick interview at that time.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And Abhi, to touch upon that, we've had potential clients come in and say, I need to know more about the developers than just what's written. Do you think having developers have videos, if clients want to learn more information, have videos of them presenting themselves and their work, would that help, or would it, yeah, or not? Is that, how does that compare to your idea that you proposed right now?
I think that could help, but it's still overwhelming for clients because all of the engineers look good or at least similar. And so it's really hard to pick. Italki is for language teaching is a good reference to this. And one thing that could be helpful is the client just being able to select maybe 1 or 2 hour time slot when they might be available, and then them getting presented with the options, and that would give them sufficient information to pick. And then the call to action would be just selecting the time that they want to interview and letting the engineers come to them. That way they won't get overwhelmed by the process of selecting engineers, inviting them to interviews, and you'd see lower drop off and higher conversion.
Thank you. That's a good point. Daniel writes, I will send you an image with the profile suggestion I have in mind. You may use it when brainstorming the UI later. Thank you, Daniel. We would appreciate that. Anything else on this page? It's a very important page because this is what is preventing a large number of developers from getting hired. Going once, going twice. All right, let's do C profile. I won't pick anyone in our list right now. Okay, when clients see this profile, what is going on in their mind? Ready for feedback. So now, by the way, this is the auto calculation of the skills. When you enter in your skills and descriptions here of how you use specific skills in specific contexts to achieve specific features, we go through and look at the time ranges that you did those things, and we auto calculate how many years of experience you have in each skill, because we think that this is a better measure than just self-reports. Albert, Daniel, Rita, Larry, Isa, Muhammad, Rahab, Lucky, anyone? So Daniel writes, much as very high contrast isn't, very low contrast isn't appealing to me. Good point. So are most of you thinking that this page is okay? Please unmute and speak up if you have problems with this page. Please tell us so that we can improve it, so that we can get you clients. So if you think this is perfect, then we'll move on. But if you think there's a problem, then let me know.
check. So I think this covers a lot, and I would love it if it were the profile, because I think at this point the client can see most of the staff's experience and the skill. So if this could be the profile, I think it could be best. And maybe you could add the invite for interview link on this page, because a client might come here and see some of the skills, and maybe he's interested with this particular engineer, and he might want to hire him at this position instead of him going back to the profile.
Great point, Larry. Larry, this is the profile. This is the profile that clients see. When you click see profile here and
Okay.
the name, this is the profile that clients see. So thank you for that. In adding invite to interview, that's definitely something we're going to add here. That's very important. But
All right.
now we see you. You are looking at yourself right now. What is so? Muhammad writes, "I second Larry Karani's idea." Muhammad, what specific part of Larry's idea did you like? Larry, so perhaps he was talking about your idea to add invite to interview, or do you think he was talking about something else? Because you had multiple ideas there.
Yeah, I also think he was talking about that one for invite interview, probably.
Did you have any other ideas for this page other than that? Cool. Muhammad confirmed that that's what he liked. But Larry, did you have any other feedback on this page, ideas for this?
I don't have any ideas.
Okay, so
That's all.
Larry, I'll ask you this. Do you have 3 years of experience or more in software engineering?
I have 3 years of experience.
Okay. Abi asks, is this responsive and mobile friendly? That's how it looks on mobile, Abi. I don't know if that answers the question. There's too little space there, but for the most part, it's responsive. I don't know if you had any feedback on this, Abi. But one of the things that I ask you, Larry, is that does this profile reflect who you are? Do you have only 2 or more years of experience in JavaScript, in React, Python, etc.? Is
I think for React and JavaScript is okay, but for Python, it's more than one.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's been written 1+ years. So maybe just indicating, if it were maybe indicating the exact number of experience, it could be much better instead of 1+.
Yeah, Larry. I think that just in general, engineers seeing how they are presented to clients may help. Uh, Choosing positive comments from clients. Yeah, Abi, that is there. So if we look at your thing, when a client does leave a testimonial, it does appear at the bottom right here. And so like if we look at someone like Collins, we do see the testimonials at the bottom when they are available. Should be at the top. That's a great point, Abi. This is important information. It could go higher. That's a great point. We could put it above the experience. So I think that this is a very important page. So we want to make both this and the search engineers page more SEO friendly. But before we get to the SEO, I just wanted to take any last comments on this page right here. How could we make it better beyond what's said already?
Mic check.
Yes, Daniel.
I think we could do a lot better with the space.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm saying location Uganda, and then we have a space that has experience and engineer devices. Um, Totally from a UI perspective, it doesn't feel balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like something is missing in these white spaces. Like almost something is not there. So maybe we can, I don't know, move a few things around and not have everything in tables. I don't know. It just feels like something is missing in the way
Yeah.
the profile is listed.
And what would you propose having instead of tables?
no, as in when I'm saying we can clearly see the lines. I'm just saying we can just do a slightly better UI, and
Yeah.
maybe use that to emphasize some points. Like like I said, I think it was Larry who said we can bring up the testimonials and have those pop up more, and then we highlight uh, maybe what the engineer is talking about himself, so that that's more visible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the only part in the profile where you get to talk about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not so sure about last activity. Could or could not be there, but that will create more white space. So in this other box,
Mm-hmm.
we have location.
Mm-hmm.
So now the country is below location, but then you have all this other space on the right.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like missing information there. It just looks blank. So we can
Mm-hmm.
maybe do something to reduce the white space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great points. Great points, Daniel. And so so Abi wrote, uh, 12 hours, not 24 hours. Have invite to interview button on the bottom of this page, on this page, probably at the top rather. That's yeah, we all agree on that. Integrate chatbot to help clients find engineers. Okay. And how about highlighting matched requirements just to bring attention to what the client is looking for? So we had that in the search engineers page, the match skills right here. But once they go to the profile, it's a separate page. But point taken, Isa. That's a great point. Maybe we could store the current client's search in cache. I think that this page is very important because yeah, go ahead, Daniel. I,
Yeah, Daniel Olidi here. I would second what Collins just said. I don't know if it was Collins, the one that spoke before me, with the tabular thing, having tables. Rather, the tables is okay, but the borders themselves don't look really that enticing. The second thing, having the hire engineer button. Yes, you can have it at the top or the bottom, but I would recommend that it stays on screen at all time, because this page, he could go down there and they're really impressed by one of the experiences and they just want to hire there and then, possibly not to scroll in, you know, so many pixels up the
mhm,
page to find the button or look for it.
mhm,
Secondly, I would ask you, go be yourself. If you were looking at someone's profile, what
mhm,
would you be interested in most? Now you have to grade those in terms of what I'm mostly interested in. Yes, I've seen the developer name. What next? Something small about them. What next? The skills come together. Then the years of experience, total they have. Then you
mhm,
can have the years of experience in each skills. You know, going down like that, from what is the most, like, from what the client is mostly interested in from your perspective as the, you know, the lead in this whole thing.
Great points. Great points, Daniel. We will do that. And thank you, Rita, for concurring that the UI should be improved on this page. Feel free to send me suggestions in LD Engineers and any of the channels. Just send in your LD channel because we want to present you all better so that we can get you hired faster for longer periods of time. So that's good for that. Now because we have some other important topics to talk about. Not many, just there are so many open client requests. So one of the complaints that we get is a lot of engineers say, I'm not getting matches. I'm not getting matches. And many of the engineers are not matched to clients. Many are matched to clients, but many are not. And so there are so many open requests though. Right now we have an open request for someone who can do SEO on a Shopify website. And I've been struggling to find someone to fill that role. We also have an open request for a person who knows development of mobile apps. So Android or iOS, plus they have some experience with Bluetooth. And so these are examples of two requests that are open. And every week there's 2 or 3 of these that don't get filled. And I post at channel and LD engineers that we have these open requests. Is anyone able to fill them? Note that if they're open, they generally are more niche areas. But still, how do we get developers to say, you know what, this opportunity is good enough that I may spend a little bit of time learning up or leveling up on Bluetooth, even if I'm not an expert, to make sure I get that? It's very difficult because it's a huge time commitment. But how do we fill these open client requests? It's such a shame that we have so many developers who are not matched to clients, and we still have clients that are looking for developers that we can't find them a developer. So it's both ways right here. So we think that the problem is just developers not getting clients, but also there's the problem of when a client does come with a requirement, we're not able to find the right developer for them.
My check.
Yes, Daniel, go ahead.
I don't know if this already exists, but it would be great to maybe have a graph that shows the requests from clients that are not yet going to, being filled. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe we had 10 requests for JavaScript this month. We had 30 for Kubernetes, 2 for Docker. So the engineers know what's going on and maybe help them focus more of their energy to learn these particular technologies.
Very good. Yeah, that's in the pipeline. Right now, the closest thing you get is the browse projects link that's pinned in your LDE channel, where you can see all the client requests, but you can't see right now which ones are filled already. We want to say it's not necessarily filled. Sometimes clients want to hire more than one engineer and the requirements are ongoing. But at least if we had a column there, I remember someone mentioned at the last town hall saying how many developers has this client hired so far for that request in the browse projects link. That would help. Moreover, we do want to present a graph of what are the most in-demand skills and what are the most popular skills that developers have, because developers should be encouraged to learn skills that are that not many other developers have, so there's less competition, but clients want it a lot, so it's high demand. And another recommendation that we got in the last town hall was having a job feed. So in addition to just the browse projects, developers can see the job feed of job requests coming in every day, and they can get an idea over time. Okay, yeah, React Native is way more in demand right now than just React, and so they can level up on the areas. Any other recommendations on this front in terms of getting developers to fill client roles that are not exactly their skill set, but if they just level up a little bit, they can get the job?
Daniel here. Mine might be a bit off, but uh, recently, it wasn't really recently, but about two months ago, I was looking for, that list for the open requests
Mm-hmm.
from the website. I totally failed to find it and had to go look for the link that is pinned in my LD channel. Why not just make it easy that if I go to the website and I'm not through the Slack, I would basically find the channel. I had to go and look for my ID. I didn't have the Slack installed at the time. I'd find the ID, fix it somewhere in the URL, looking at another person's URL, stuff like that. If someone goes through the same, they would basically give up in the middle. I do not know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, so there are some things that have to be private in Slack in your LDE, like updating your resume and things like that. But you're absolutely right that if we could just post some data on the open requests publicly, then developers may look at those ongoing open roles at LD on our landing page, and then maybe they'll have that inspiration to go and to Slack and update their resume, to go into Slack and add experience and things like that. So yeah, that's a great point of making the open roles public so that developers in our network can see that. Did I understand your point correctly?
Yes, of course, that's okay with me.
We want, when people search online for React, Python, or Django React developers or something like that, LD's search results should come up. So what do we have here? We have a search result for developers who know React Native, Python. And we have a list of candidates. So anyone who's searching online should be able to receive this URL in their search results. But if you search React Native, Python developers right now, I guarantee you that LD will not show up. Well, you got a bunch of ads. Okay, that's fine. But you get Simply Hired, you got Medium, you get iOS. And let's see, do we get some competitors here? Upwork. We get 27 developers, React Native from Upwork. And maybe we can't compete on React Native because it's not niche enough. So it's high competition. And let's see, I bet on page 2, maybe we'll see Townhall. We see it in the ads, but Okay, let's do another example, like Django Python developers for hire. Interesting. We don't actually see. Ah, yeah, right. 11 best Django freelance developers. You get it right in the search results. And you see a list of candidates right here. Right? Now, that's fine, but you don't see LD. And the difference is LD is going to, TopTal takes a huge cut. So LD is going to be way more, way better in terms of that sense. LD is also has developers from more diverse parts of the world and has developers who are engaged in lifelong learning. So it's TopTal doesn't let in a lot of developers that are really good. So we have some advantages over them, but right now we do not show up in the search results. And we need to show up in the search results to be able to compete and show what we are offering in terms of the developers in our network. So how we need to improve our UI, we know that. But any ideas on how we can improve our SEO so that our lists of developers show up in the search results?
Daniel speaking. Well, I do not have so much experience in SEO, but I did some SEO about 2 years ago. I would recommend that you set up your website for Google indexing. You make sure that everything is indexed in your site. Then also adding descriptions for every page. If it's a developer, you could add things in their descriptions. Then also in considering something like schema.org, it's very helpful. You find that if you search probably LD specifically in Google, you would have a bunch of pages coming up. You search these developers in Google, you find a bunch of leads, rather links. Then if you search a particular developer, they would show their profile on LD. This one is a developer at LD. Stuff like that can be helpful to clients.
Yeah, so we are doing a lot of those things right now, but I think the specifically on the search results page, making the title more relevant, making the descriptions more relevant to the search results is work that we need to do. So those are great points. Any other ideas? So we can SEO optimize the search results page when we do the UI fixes as well. But any other points about interesting data that we can service? For instance, one idea was, you know how Daniel recommended, or someone, I think Daniel, recommended we could surface open roles. And then we had also established that we could surface the most in-demand skills, that type of data. We could surface it publicly on a URL. What are the most in-demand skills that clients are requesting? What are the most common skills that developers have? And we could surface this data as landing pages. And so that could promote our SEO. And just like our blog is bringing in SEO, we can have these landing pages that surface interesting data to clients and engineers, bring in SEO search results. Any other data or things that you think that LD might have that we could surface to improve our SEO and bring more clients in to the website?
Mic check. Still on that issue of most in-demand skills, we can have maybe people doing more blog posts on those particular skills. Maybe their thoughts, maybe projects. That will drive more people to the site because Google will be able to find those articles.
Yep. So that's definitely in the pipeline. And welcome Sunday. Welcome Odong Sunday. Yeah, thank you for joining. So we're just talking about when somebody searches Django developers or Django React developers, they get lists of candidates from Upwork and TopTal. But we also have lists of candidates, as you know, from our website, where you can see lists of candidates and see what experience they have. But we don't show up in the search results. And so we're just talking about some of the SEO work that we could do to get us to show up in the search results. And then after that, we had talked about other data that we could surface. We want to surface what are the most in-demand skills and the most common that clients are requesting on a landing page, so that brings in SEO, and it also helps developers both in and outside of our network. Same way, what are the most common skills? Any other things that we could surface? Any other ideas?
Daniel speaking here.
Yeah.
I have 2 points. One regarding data. I would think from Daniel's point that if developers are writing more of the blogs, they could involve things like questions, because there's always a good chance that the client, before they hire a developer, they will try and ask if they could do it on Google. So if there is sort of a question that is maybe general to anyone, probably let's say build React project. Now the client will then see something within Google that is a recommendation that goes into LD Talent. Then the other thing would be incoming links. If you could have as many shares out there that where people could click and come into, I think Google really takes that serious when people are coming in. When you have so many links directing to your site, they really consider that to do your rating. I've had that before previously, but not exactly so sure about it.
Yeah, so we have a lot of incoming links from our blog, and as you may have noticed, our blog is the 33,000th most popular blog, but it just keeps going up and down and up and down. And so one of the things that we need to do is get those incoming links, and that makes sense to me, for the candidates link, and for just in general surfacing data, making sure that we have those links. But your first point, I don't know if I understood your first point. Could you explain that again?
Yeah, what I meant is, just imagine I am a client and I'm trying to, find out if I could do something for myself without having to hire anybody else. And I want to build a React project or
Right.
WordPress project. And then I go to Google. I'm not thinking of having to pay anyone yet. I'm just trying to see if this is something I could pull off myself. So I say, building a React project. Google might bring me some people that are capable of this, but then with several other descriptions. It doesn't have to bring exact individuals. It can bring a company because it has something to do with building a React project.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying. I don't know if it's clear.
It is clear. So a client might be looking before they're hiring how to make a React project or how to make a car in Unity or things like that. And so how to implement multiple card drag features. They might be searching for things like that. Now, how can we do better than just what our blog is doing right now? One of the things that we thought of is, instead of just these types of posts, we could also address more technical questions like Stack Overflow. Like if a developer comes across an issue and they solve it without using Stack Overflow, if they post it on our blog, they'll get paid certain amounts of money. But like, yeah, Daniel, how can we do better than what we're doing already with the blog?
Having to go through the blog itself and finding out what are the most important aspects of this blog that we could publish within, the page descriptions. What do we consider? If the developer can aid with that while they are writing the blog, just as you may find that you auto capture their rating, probably their experiences, and you put them in the page description. If anyone goes to their profile, think about it this way: if the blog could include the same information, possibly the question, possibly the things that are involved in the project, and it is within the page description of that person, by the time Google indexes all that stuff, it would be available in their search results.
Yeah, so if I'm trying to understand correctly, like when a client does, when people online, like LD's blog is showing up under search results for many of the technical terms. So I guess what I'm wondering is, are you saying that we should like try to, like, if you look at our blog stats, like when you search things like um Android 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 two-step auth Firebase or something, right? Let's see. So LD doesn't show up there, right? Because that's too hard. But maybe a client is looking for that. But then sometimes if you search something like, I don't know, the other example I gave, or like asynchronous redux actions, just asynchronous redux actions, just testing. There you go. LD shows up in the search results. So we could be driving client traffic that way through this search result right here. But actually, we're not. We're not getting clients from this search result. We are having people visit our blog and read our technical articles. So if you look at the stats here on our blog, we have, okay, and let's just put this into like the last few months. We have had 8,000 views in September, but no clients coming out of that. And these views are not just from the countries where the developers are, they're from the United States, right? A lot of these views are from the United States. And so how do we, can you talk more about how we can get these search results to convert into clients?
For me, it still goes back to UI and UX for the website itself.
Okay. Say more, say more. Specifically here, I am a potential client. I am reading this blog article. I want to know how to do multiple cards in a Kanban board. Do I notice that I could find developers and get a free trial to hire them over here?
If I was a client, I doubt I would really notice that quick with that with the current UI. I would really not notice. There needs to be something really, you know, I don't know if you would call it bright, but not really bright. Something that is noticeable within the screen, or something that pops up later when the person tries to, go through the screen. Pops up later, noticeable. They see it and they can, hire developers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So when I'm reading as a potential client the article on how to do this multiple Kanban board, then a pop-up shows up after a few 30 seconds saying, need help doing this? You should hire these 3 candidates, check out their resumes. Is that understanding correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Another thing.
Also, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds. 30 seconds may be a lot, but if a client also goes through the page up to a certain number of pixels off the top, yeah, maybe they have the interest already and it could pop up and doesn't really need to wait for the 30 seconds.
Great point. At the end of the day, we are getting good amount of organic traffic. We've had 40 plus paying customers, and we've had a lot of people come in, and we haven't even paid for much marketing yet. We've just been doing guerrilla marketing and getting clients in. But eventually, it would be good and appealing to pay for advertising, specifically when somebody searched React Native Python developers, right? Or React Native Django developers. That's a pretty more rare combination than just Python, right? We could potentially surface ads here, and we do have better we have competitive differentiation from Townhall, as you know from our table right here. Clients are leaving Townhall and coming to LD just because we're more efficient and we don't drain we make the budget control much better for the clients, and we make it easier to work with developers long term. But one of the things that is happening here is we aren't actually paying for ads here. One project that we think we might have is, can we get a developer to use the data that we have from our Google Analytics? And we have a funnel already that's operating using Google Analytics events, and track and optimize this whole step. We have an ad on React Native Django developers. They click an LD ad. They get to a list of React Native Django developers on our website, right? So they get to a list here. Let me see. And then we optimize that entire funnel um, so that we can actually pay for traffic, and then we can say for every dollar that we pay in traffic, if like we get like for every dollar we know how many clients are coming in, right? It costs this much money to get one paying customer through that funnel. Then that's a potential project we could actually hire our developers to do some work on. That's an idea. uh, I want to know your thoughts on this in terms of getting paid traffic. uh, yeah, anyone, or anyone who might be interested in such a project of figuring out how to optimize our funnel. Is anyone here against paid traffic? Does anyone here think that we should focus more on organic marketing?
Well, Daniel here, am not against paid traffic. I think it's really good, but if you can really direct users to the right pages, it would be really, really good for that. If, let's say, for example, you earlier searched on TopTal about Python developers and they took you to a Django page. Yes, you were searching Django developers and they took you to a Django page.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the top of that Django page, there's basically some information, and then they would recommend developers
Mm-hmm.
down there. If you take a lead, rather copy from this, it would be really, really helpful, I think.
Right. Right. Mm.
What I'm saying is really having, you know, internal bloggers within
Mm.
the company that can create several pages about several topics that
Mm.
the customers can go to in case they see an ad somewhere that, most relevant pages regarding whatever technology they're searching about.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, one of the things that I just thought, it's the elephant in the room that I should bring up, is that we don't want to copy TopTal because we're not going to be able to do what TopTal does. We have a different vision. What TopTal is doing is that they're going out to the world and they're vetting like crazy and taking just some small fraction of people from very specific places, and they're saying, okay, you're elite, you're in our network. Whereas we're not about that. We're more about, we want to take in good people who are from decent universities, but from anywhere in the world, and we care more about it, their career over time. So they don't need to have 15 years experience in Django. They can have 2 years of experience in Django, but we want to show them as, maybe they're younger and maybe they have less experience, but they're interested in lifelong learning, and that they're willing to work hard, and their rates are better for clients, and they're still vetted. It's not like Upwork where there's no vetting, but it's not like TopTal where they're going to charge the client really, really high rates for very, very small fraction of the population. So somehow, like, making sure that in our search results, we're not just trying to directly, if you compare just TopTal, this search result, and our search result in LD, we're not going to be able to compete if we're competing on that front. But if we compete on a few other things, compete on price, compete on, okay, yeah, maybe our developers are younger, but they're more motivated and more energetic, then we can compete because we have a difference. So I want to hear some of your thoughts, especially since you're the developers, on how we can compete not with TopTal.
Yes, I ideally understand. I used TopTal as an example, not exactly what to copy from, as copycat. No, 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 not really. What I meant is to borrow. It could be Upwork, it could be any others, but just borrowing something from them. Then, personally, I think the more people can see you, the presence the more, they can come to your site anytime and will be thinking LD first. The more they can see you, if you have so many, if it may not be ads, but for as long as you can appear with so many things within their search results, they would basically come around. I wouldn't have big of the ideas about SEO, but that's my submission.
Yeah, I think we just need more awareness. That's a good point. Just awareness that there's Upwork and TopTal, but there is another option. There's an option because the problem that people have with TopTal is it just costs way too much. And they're only picking out a scarce fraction of the developers. And the problem with Upwork is they don't do any vetting. So we need to spread the awareness that there's a middle option where we do good quality vetting and find good quality people, but we give people opportunity also. We're not just rejecting people because they don't have 20 years of experience. We allow people in who are motivated and hardworking and who are smart, but they're motivated and hardworking. And so we need to sort of spread that awareness that we're vetted, but we're also more diverse. Yeah, thank you for concurring, Daniel. So yeah, there's a huge opportunity because a lot of clients right now, they're not pleased with TopTal because it costs way too much, and uh, TopTal takes a huge cut, and they're not happy, and they're not happy with Upwork because it's so takes so much time to find good quality talent. So we need some awareness to the market that we are a middle path that can be really, really effective. Final thing is just in the last webinar, we had discussed ideas of how to make money in other ways than just matching engineers to clients. For instance, a lot of our developers are matched to clients, but a lot are not. But they have energy and they have ability to do projects that could be monetizable. So we thought maybe we could have the GitHub blog project that people are doing right now, like how uh, Chisom did here. We could have these blog projects be stepping stones as like round one. But then maybe round two is you take your project, like you made a Unity game, and you figure out how can I monetize it? How can I put it on the app store? How many downloads would it take to make a profit? And we actually encourage our developers to build software and build products that, and we guide them through and mentor them on how to monetize their apps. And then we do a revenue sharing agreement or as a profit sharing agreement between LD and the developer. So, and essentially create an incubator for our developers who are not matched with clients to start their own startups, or developers who are done working for clients and who are ready for the next phase of their life to start their own startups and invest a few hours at a time in their projects. So I had asked last time on the spot if anybody had ideas, and I'll leave this last part of the webinar as an opportunity. If you have an idea for an app that you want to build and monetize, LD may invest in it down the road in a few months even. Or if you just had ideas on this sort of fund that we're thinking of starting, where we're going to invest a little bit of money if you have an idea that you think you can monetize. Let me know your thoughts on this. And Odong, Sunday, you can talk to Rita, Larry, Isa, Daniel, every Daniel number, both Daniels. Just everyone, please talk. Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Sorry, I was late.
No problem.
Sorry, I was late. It's great to be here. Sorry, I couldn't give my opinion, but most likely next time I'll be ready for to give my opinion on this wonderful ceremony. And yeah, I like the idea. Everything is coming out. Personally, now I am working on a project. Though it's not for monetizing yet. It's just more of I'm trying to get my heads around Rails. I'm working on it. So I'm trying to build the Twitter clone, and yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm just trying to get my heads around everything, and yeah, because I'm just an express guy. Yeah.
Very
Cool.
good.
So it's great to have you guys here joining, and sorry again for being late.
No worries, not at all. We're happy that you came. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, that's all I have to say, I guess.
Sounds good. So one thing we noticed from Odong Sunday's thing that he just said is that he's working on projects right now, passion projects that he's working on. So it's not
Yeah, yeah.
all of you are working on projects that are not necessarily paid projects. But what if LD could sort of mentor you to, you know, turn them into startups, monetizable applications, and invest a little bit of, funds into guiding you through. That's the idea. Any other
Yeah,
thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
I can say maybe a little experience I have. I worked on a project of such maybe like 3-4 years ago, but it wasn't Java. It was about a school management system. With a
Mm-hmm.
couple of friends. Yeah, we're using Spring Boot to develop an application. But yeah, to my surprise, we were a little disappointed with the project. So I think the school we were trying to build the project for later realized that maybe they need to move on without it. So it kind of demoralized me personally. Yeah. So I was like, maybe I should really get to an environment where people appreciate my effort a little bit. That's one of the reasons why I joined Learning Dollar here, because of such ideas. So yeah, so like you mentioned right now, if there's a platform for such opportunities where somebody can come up with an idea, and the people understand your struggles, and yeah, that's a very great one. I really love something of that kind. Yeah,
Thank you. That's helpful to
Um,
know. Yeah, go ahead,
yeah.
Larry.
okay. Thanks for your input, Sunday. Another suggestion would be maybe LD could come up with let's say bench products. Ideally, open source product whereby engineers who are not blessed to a client may be working on those projects collaboratively, and then we get to host them on GitHub as well. And this might as well boost our SEO,
Mm,
whereby we get to say that we have these projects on the pipeline, as well as it will add on the engineer's experience, because we will be having multiple projects on production, because most of the clients look at what in experience wise, they look at how many years of experience we've worked on a project that is in production.
mm-hmm.
So coming up with those bench products would be much better.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a note of that. SEO boosting projects. That's sort of what I was getting at with any other data we could surface, because maybe one of the projects might even be uh, a visualization of what skills are in demand.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Anyone else?
Mic check.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
All right. So this is I may be going off on a tangent a bit. So we're in October now, but Hacktoberfest is going on. So it will be a great opportunity for developers to contribute to open source. You might be fortunate to get it on a good product and where you can continue to grow your skills. So personally, I did this. I currently joined one of those products called Measure. It's for service measures. So
Mm-hmm.
I mainly joined it to get a better understanding of that particular technology. It's Docker, Kubernetes, and Golang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're out there, yeah, and you want to contribute, please do. It will be a great learning opportunity and something you can put on your resume as well.
That's a great point. And that kind of comes to the point that Hacktoberfest is going on. LD could also host hackathon type of things, particularly not just for developing, so we can develop open source things that'll improve our SEO. So always that goal should be in mind. How are we going to help the company grow? So that I thought, Larry, I really like that comment that, yeah, it's open source, but it'll help our SEO. And then another thing is we could also develop projects that could be meaningful social entrepreneurship projects that have a business plan. So yeah, any other comments?
Daniel here.
Yeah.
Regarding making money on the side, I would think probably two things. One is if LD could come up with sort of a program where they look for people that can fund and then be a go-between between people that can fund and have sort of like a pitching sort of area where people could pitch their ideas. Now, LD would benefit from this directly, of course, based on the terms that are available. The second thing, even if it's not a pitching event, it could be just a random event. LD calls in random people. You never know who comes by and can be helpful to LD financially or the developers themselves financially.
Yeah, so that's another thing to consider is let investors in. We've developed this incredible network of productive and efficient young developers, but also just technologists and entrepreneurial folks. And so we should allow external investors to come in and perhaps invest in some of the ideas and projects that our developers create. Did I understand you correctly, Daniel?
Yes, that's what I meant. Although not allowing them directly into the the Slack channels where the clients interact, it can
Mm-hmm.
be as a separate initiative by LD to
Mm-hmm.
look for investors and then tell them of people that can present monetizable projects, so the investors could look at that separately. They're not really clients, but it's a separate sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So the way I was envisioning it right now was that we create one firm and we have as a subsidiary all of the different monetizable projects. But that's another interesting idea. And then we as a firm can raise capital, right, from investors. But that's another interesting idea is let the investors invest in individual projects within LD rather than invest in LD as a whole. Yeah, we'll have to weigh the pros and cons of both strategies and see. That's good. Oh, we have a comment here. Uh, okay, that's just yes. Okay, cool. So I'll leave it for anyone else to say anything.
Yeah, regarding anything, I recently, the most recent client that I got from LD, it was a client that picked me directly, but I had a bit of an issue with the client. I don't know how LD plans on resolving such issues. The client came through and they really didn't want to talk anymore through the LD channels and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go the other side. Well, I accepted for the first 1 or 2 days and try to find out why they're doing that. And then later, I discovered that this client didn't want even to pay at all from the bit of information that I discovered while we were talking. The client sent me something. I asked another developer because I was a bit suspicious myself. I asked
Mm-hmm.
another developer to ask them the same questions that I had asked them, and they sent them the same exact copied text they had sent me. How do you guys plan on resolving such issues of having these kinds of clients?
Great point, and I'm so glad you brought it up. So we have this thing has stopped happening as much recently. I don't know which one was that, Dendy or something like that. Dendy, was that the name of the client?
Yes, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a very interesting strat. So that actually we know about that, and the way we're dealing with that now is multiple fold. So first of all, it doesn't benefit developers because if a client is trying to go around the system, then you know that they're not going to pay the developer because that's their character. So if their character is to go around the system, they're not going to pay the developer. So it doesn't benefit. The other thing we try to do is reduce the percent cut and make it transparent on our platform. It's like, what percentage cut are we going to take after the free trial? And also, what are the options to buy out of the percentage cut and how much does that cost? And we're going to add another option as well soon, um, for cases where clients and developers are working long-term together on the platform. So that has helped making it more transparent and lowering the cut. Another thing that has helped is me, when I approve a client project, every client that signs up, I have to approve them. And in order to approve them, I have a face-to-face video chat conversation with the client, making sure that they're legit, they're well-funded, that they're trying to operate a scalable venture business that does things legally. So that's the other thing that I do before I say people can't just sign up as a client. They need to have a video conference with me now, ever since that thing happened. And then another thing that we're doing is just during the free trial, we are evaluating and trying to understand as well as we can, try to get the developers to keep all the communication in the Slack. And we then can monitor and say, like, at the end of the free trial, are clients, going to, are they going to fund or not? And if we after the free trial, we have a video chat with the developer and figure out, why did this client not fund? Let's go over all the work that's done and see, oh, the client approved the work sessions, but they didn't fund. Let's try to debug and understand why they didn't fund. And so with this sort of cultural experience of understanding in detail what's going on, we hope to make sure everyone works on the platform. And we're not too worried about that, because we know that if people are proposing to go outside the platform, they're probably going to screw each other anyway, right? Like it's going to screw the developer. If the client comes and they say they don't want to go to the platform, then they're just not going to play the developer. So developers, as you discovered, are just not going to do that much. They'll figure out that it's not worth it. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah. Any other suggestions, thoughts? Okay, well, I think it's a good time to conclude. I was a little bit worried at the beginning of this town hall, because some people joined in Google Hangouts, some in Zoom. I'm going to make sure that confusion doesn't happen in future. And then when we started, it was very quiet. Not many people participated, but I want to thank you all for sticking through, and for everyone who attended for sticking through. And you can see now how transparent we are as an organization and how much we care about the success of the talent that we have invested in, all of you, as well as the success of the clients that come on the platform, as well as the success of future projects that we develop. So I want to thank you all for participating in this discussion, and we hope to make this organization better and better going forward. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.